We talk a lot about these different demographics and these assumptions of where they're going to go. Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border.
It's
the border
misogyny.
crisis is on their doorstep. And they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some lessons.
That's what that was.
The lessons are not
Knock,
misogyny,
knock. Who's there? Oh my gosh, it's Whoopi.
I'll let Jessarae stop come in. But did you guys, and I know you probably don't, but me and my brother, we sometimes watch The View. Sometimes. And does anyone watch The View? Did anyone watch The View the last couple of episodes with Sunny and Sarah? Okay. There's this good, okay, Freddie, I don't know if you want to chime in. But there was this good moment. I was actually going to have people watch this and we could discuss it because what happened on that table represented pretty much the polarizing sides of how Democrats feel and Republicans feel, or like people in the middle. And I know Sarah and Alyssa voted for Harris, but they were the ones saying that the fact that most of the country wanted Trump and not Harris, we need to be introspective on what we're doing wrong as on the left. And Sunny and the others, and Whoopi, I think, and Joy too, were like, no, they need to be because they're all racist and misogynist and all that. They have it wrong. They're basically calling the other side stupid. And I'm like, they are told, that's why people are voting for them and not voting, because you're acting like you have all the answers and no one can come up with an original thought on their own. But Freddie, if you want to chime in on that, you can. Jess, do you want to talk at all? And you can be brief. You don't have to go into.
I can, but I feel like I missed what you guys said, so I don't know if I'm going to be redundant or like what's going to happen.
I wouldn't even worry about that. But I mean, can I just say, I think it's a little weird to me that a lot of Democrats are doubling down on like the narrative that only
racist people vote for Trump.
Yeah, I think it's a weird approach because when you have millions of people who did not vote for the Democrats this year, you have to ask, okay, what happened? Like, how come we didn't mobilize people in the same way that Joe Biden was able to mobilize people? And then you have people leaving the Democratic Party in droves. And then for us to continue to kind of like, you know, demonize the other side. I get like people are angry. I get all of that. And there definitely is a lot of people that are super problematic who voted for Trump, right? Like we could have that conversation, but I'm just like, are we really not going to take the time to think about what we did wrong? Because we have 4 years to figure this crap out. And if we're just going to just oh well, yeah, you're right.
Right now they're losing in both houses too. So
yeah,
one of the things I want to sort of affirm something that Freddie said earlier is from popular vote, it appears as if Trump has pretty much exactly the same amount of votes that he had in 2020. Now, Joe Biden had about 10 million more than Harris did.
He had 81 million. Harris had 68, something like that.
He had 81. Okay, that is more.
Yeah, that's more. Yeah, I'm just confirming.
So Biden had 81 and she had 68.
Exactly.
But the other thing, and maybe Brittany, you might notice this sort of thing based on the crowds that you interact with. But there were a lot of people because I don't think those were the same for Trump. If it was like 74 or 75 million, I don't think it was the same people, which is the bizarre part. So he appears to have gained like double-digit percentages from Black men, from Latino men. And I'll also say there were all these like, I don't know, heterodox types, you know, in the middle people, independents who I've never seen, not in 2016, not in 2020, they were not endorsing Trump. And then they did in 2024. And it could be Joe Rogan, it could be JFK, but it could be smaller, platforms like Bridget Fetisi or like Heather Haying, these people have followings, and it was shocking to watch. They're just like, I'm voting Trump, I'm voting Trump, I'm voting Trump. And that did not happen in 16 or 20. So it was very, very interesting to kind of watch that.
Very true. Go ahead, Jess, if you would like.
So, obviously I'm not sure what you guys have already said, but one of the big things that stuck out to me that could be like an actual benefit that we come out of this with as a nation, hearing all of the people that, like, while the election is happening in real time are like, what do you mean Latinos don't vote based upon identity politics? Like, this is crazy. And I'm sitting here like, that's interesting. So hopefully one of the things that does come out of this is that white people in particular start realizing that just because you are out of a minority group doesn't mean that you have to be a specific way. The way it was so shocking and people are like live talking about the election and they're like completely baffled by this and keep going back to it. I'm like, yeah, that is interesting. Like, let's have those conversations and figure out, why we're assuming that if you're a part of specifically an ethnic minority, but other types of minorities as well, that it automatically means you're going to vote a specific way, because that's not actually how the world works. And anybody that has relationships with people outside of their own groups would realize that. So.
Well, it wasn't just white people, not to bring Sunny back in this from The View, but she was saying, when Alyssa was trying to be like, you have to, because she was saying exactly what you're saying. Like, people are shocked that some Latino voters like went over to Trump. And she was like, you have to understand, they are feeling the effects of the border crisis. And then Sunny's like, no, they're just misogynists and they don't want women at the helm. It's like, no, that's not it. And to that point, and I love Obama. I love the Obamas so much. I did not like when Obama reprimanded those men that were going to vote for Trump, those black men. I don't know if anyone saw that. Freddie, did you see that?
I'm going to go ahead and just speak some truths, if you don't mind. Yes. Because my understanding, based on reports I'm getting from campaigns and communities, is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences, who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land and is putting forward concrete proposals to directly address the things that are vital in our neighborhoods and our communities, from housing to making sure that our mothers and our fathers and our grandparents can afford medicine, and making sure that we are dealing with prices that are too high and rents that are too high, and are committed to making sure that we maintain the Affordable Care Act, so everybody's got help here, and cares about things like education and entrepreneurship in our neighborhoods. And that's on one side. And on the other side, you have someone who has consistently shown disregard, not just for the communities, but for you as a person. And you're thinking about sitting out? I'm not. But, you know, because of Pookie might be. And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that. Because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And I think anybody you are talking to in a barbershop, anybody you are talking to in your house, in your family, at church, who is coming with that kind of attitude, I think you have to ask them, well, how can that be? Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time. They've been raising us and working and having our backs. And when we get in trouble and the system's not working for us, they're the ones who are out there marching and protesting. And so now you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down. That's not acceptable. That's not, this shouldn't even be a question.
And to that point, and I love Obama. I love the Obamas so much. I did not like when Obama reprimanded those men that were going to vote for Trump, those black men. I don't know if anyone saw that. Freddie, did you see that? Yeah, he was I don't know if he was in a barbershop, but he was somewhere, and there's a bunch of black men that I guess were either conservative, undecided, voting for Trump. And he was talking to them, and he was saying, I have to wonder why you would vote, like come out for me, but not come out for her. And I would guess it's because she's a woman. I'm guessing it's because of this, but I didn't hear follow-up of him asking them, so why is it though? And letting them explain it. And that also was something that I did not like. And I think a lot of people that might have been on the fence or were Democrats kind of got fed up with that type of stuff, the identity politics. But I don't think identity politics wasn't used. It was used in a different way on Trump's side.
I think Latino, this is a generalization, but it is a sort of a traditionalist culture. So I don't think that it's like, which to me doesn't equal like you're a sexist piece of crap.
Yeah.
But there are attitudes that are conservative about the way that Hispanics organize their lives. So that shouldn't be shocking to me. And there are differing degrees to which that's true, in other minority groups as well. But Hispanics, that trend has been happening for a while. That wasn't even new in 2024. Like that group has been moving to the right for at least 3 elections in a row. Mm-hmm.
I do feel, well, I mean, you can say the same about Black Americans. I mean, even my dad, and he wouldn't care if I said who he voted for. So he voted Democratically, but he's like, yeah, we're lowercase with a C. Like Black Americans are lowercase conservative, maybe not uppercase, meaning like we will vote Republican. But yeah, and I'm more of, yeah, maybe I don't agree with someone voting for him, but the fact that that minorities are continuously talked to like children on who they vote for, and you don't see any white people being sat down and being like, why are you not voting? Like, you should, maybe they're happening. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But I cannot stand that. And that gets into freedom of speech and all that. But I don't know if anyone has last thoughts on this election talk.
I think like people within their racial or ethnic group are more upset with those who voted for Trump than they are with white people. Like you were saying, just because I think like, you know, with the whole, like, I think that we see ourselves as black people. I'll speak for black people. Well, I'm not speaking for all black people. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me back up. But no, but you know, like how a lot of us will, we have a lot of shared experiences. We have an understanding of each other that a lot of people will never be able to understand. And we like to see the black community as a unit, as a family. Like if you see someone, hold on. If you see someone at Walmart, you say, "What's up?" Right?
Yeah.
You always acknowledge each other. And we've been told from for a long time that we got to have each other's backs. So I think the idea that someone could vote for someone who clearly doesn't have or share the same ideals or values that a lot of black people hold, or someone that has been super racist towards the black community, maybe not so much in policy, because people well actually some things that he's done historically have been problematic, but a lot of people I like to say that, oh well, he's given the most money to HBCUs or yada yada, and that could be true for sure, but like he's said some very problematic things about the black community specifically. And at his last rally, he had like people were making all kinds of racist jokes towards black people, towards Puerto Ricans, everything. So I think the black community gets frustrated with like the black men in particular who decided to vote for Trump, because they kind of see it as betrayal. Like, you're supposed to be family, you're supposed to be on our side, and you're kind of not voting with us. But at the same time, if that is what we've been taught from the jump, to always have each other's back no matter what, I can see why Democrats, black people, have been trying to vote Democratic for so long, because we've consistently voted Democratic for years. But I do think it's interesting with, I don't even really like Stephen A, to be honest. And I hate to quote him because he's not someone that I really care about. Yeah, but I thought it was interesting that he had made a comment that potentially contextualized some of the Puerto Ricans or Hispanics that decided to vote for Trump, feeling that those that are coming over the border illegally could potentially ruin things for them who are already in the country, and could put a target on them and their families. So that was a really interesting take, because I was like, I have never heard anyone say that.
Really?
But I've never heard anyone say that before. I never heard that someone that Puerto Ricans or Hispanics are feeling threatened by the fact that so many people are coming over the border illegally, and how that could impact themselves and their families personally. I've never heard that perspective. So I think that there is a lot more out there to help contextualize people's votes, and we just have to be open to hearing that.
Freddie, to your point, sorry, Chris, hold on.
No, go ahead, Brittany.
Having each other's back, yes, and I am totally up for that, which is why I was upset with Obama doing that to the black men. What is the one thing that we say, Freddie, all the time, that black people say? We say we're not a monolith. That's what we freaking always say. Then when someone doesn't do what you should do, whatever should is, then they're what? They're seen as a coon. They're seen as Uncle Tom, seen as someone that's betraying us when we don't ask them why. And we can still challenge them. They can still be problematic. But why is it that having someone's back also can't mean having their back even if we don't agree with them? Why can't it just be like having their back no matter what? Like ride or die. Like, even though I literally don't understand this vote, you can have the freaking vote because you're American. And that is your God-given right. Instead of, no, we only have your back if you do what we like. That's not having someone's back to me. So I am for having people's back, but holistically and not superficially. And I cannot stand it when I hear us say we're not monolithic. And then right when someone just breathes differently than us, that's Black, we will literally kick them out of the community or kick them out or say that they got to go. Like, that's probably, you guys are at the cookout right now. You guys are hearing what happens behind the scenes. And then you said something about Latinos. Oh yeah, I have been having those conversations and I've been seeing those conversations, but I've also been having conversations with friends that I'm closer to friends who are from the Latino community who are literally afraid right now because they have parents who are here illegally and they were born here and they are afraid for their parents or they're afraid for their family. So I have more empathy and connection with that, though I do understand what you just said about some Latinos voting for Trump because they feel like I came here legally and now because I'm Hispanic or from Venezuela or whatever, now people are targeting me and acting like I'm illegal. And also I've heard people wanting the border crisis, something to happen there because they're like, I don't want this country to turn into the country I left. I hear that too. So I hear both sides of it. So I'm not shocked at either. I think what we're not doing now, and I thought maybe there would be some awakening. I mean, there's some pockets of people that are on the left that are really wanting to know sincerely what's going on with our country. But I'm really shocked at how much people are doubling down and just polarizing the other side even more. Because clearly there's a gap there. If 81 million people vote for Joe and then 68 million people voted for her, it's not to say that they switched. I think a lot of these people just didn't vote. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of these people are just like, I'm not freaking doing this. Like, I'm sick of both sides. So yeah, there needs to be reflection. Anyone else? You guys want to move on?
I was going to add, so Freddie, I didn't see those comments that Stephen A made about certain immigrant populations. But a while back ago, I noticed the comment that he made about African Americans, which I thought was interesting. He was saying, if we think that people aren't going to notice and be drawn to the way in which Democrats are just trying to find like a new legal angle to take this guy down over and over and over again, and they've lost way more than they've won in that pursuit. And when they finally did, quote unquote, win, so now we can say we have a felon president, okay? And first of all, if the Democrats elected someone who was technically a felon, they would frame that narratively as a great achievement. So first of all, let's just be honest and real about that. But second of all, I think if you ask the four of us, we probably couldn't articulate well and clearly what he was convicted of. But I think if you go outside of us and you talk to average person on the street, they certainly wouldn't know. And I think that's a huge, again, you mentioned messaging, Brittany. I think that's a huge problem. That if you're going to convict this guy of something, we need to know what he did. And if it's so complicated and technical that you just, convicted him of, then maybe this wasn't the most important use of your time and resources. So yeah, That's some other stuff that was on my mind this week.